Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I wanted to introduce myself because many people probably don't know about me. I'm a native Japanese. I was born and grew up there. First 20 years in my life. And my parents are both Japanese. And I went to Japanese high school, Japanese junior high school and high school. So I didn't go to international school or anything. And this video, I'm going to talk about my experience growing up, going through Japanese education system, because a lot of I guess foreigners go travel to Japan and get kind of cool experiences as an outsider, and less people out of that all that people who visit Japan. I think the statistics numbers says that 100,000 people a year, or maybe more than that. Out of 100,000, how many people stay in Japan? And out of that, people who stay in Japan for like short term, medium term, long term, how many people are going to raise kids and then send kids to Japanese schools and education system? It's pretty rare for foreigners to have that insider's views about Japanese education system. And so that's why I kind of wanted to decided to make this video about giving you guys insider's views of actually going through Japanese education system, elementary school, high school, and university entrance examinations. So hey, I'm going to be talking about English or the academic achievement. What is the pressure to be a high school student studying for entrance examinations for university? And is Japanese education really cool? Is it up to date? Is it actually innovative, progressive? Or is it kind of outdated, traditional, and it's not really catching up with the modern trend, like in the current society's trend? So I want to talk about that. So before getting onto those topics, I kind of wanted to go over briefly about my background. So as I said, I was born in Japan, stayed in Japan until 19 or 20. I didn't go to Japanese university. I went to Canadian one. Basically, after graduating from high school in Japan, I studied for TOEFL, English examination for foreigners, and I went to Canadian college and then university, and then worked in Canada and then now Europe. So it's not like I was born with like English speaking parent, or I went to international school to study English. It's not. I went to a normal Japanese high school, and junior high school I went to the public school. So first point about English. Would a student be able to learn and pick up English speaking skills, listening skills, and writing, reading skills? And this is a question. As an insider growing up in Japan, from elementary school or junior high school to high school, it is nearly impractical to learn English through a Japanese education system. Reason being, just think about, if you're from Canada, think about how you learn French in high school. You can learn about reading and writing by not necessarily speaking and listening, because those latter two parts, more practical skills, entails actual day-to-day practice with people. So if you're just doing an academic kind of language learning, just reading, writing, traditional like literature and stuff, then there's less opportunities to actually use and apply and then improve your skills. Same thing applies by making it harder for 3 times, 5 times more. The reason why I'm saying is because French, English, German all came from Latin, right? If you're speaking Spanish, then English is like much easier. Whereas Japanese or Chinese, Korean to English is like from the east to the west. It's like a full-blown it's completely opposite of the spectrum. So it is nearly impossible to be able to have opportunity to practice speaking and listening and using and really being exposed to English sentences, subtleties and the cultures and nuances and jokes and everything, while learning and going through a Japanese education system. It's nearly impossible, and that's the reason why Japan average score for TOEFL for Japanese student is one of the one of the bottom among all the other countries in Asia. So that's one thing, English. So that's something that I would worry about if I would in the future need to send my kids to a Japanese education system, because English is going to be a pretty a big problem there. First of all, 95% people homogeneous. And second of all the teachers probably haven't been like educated outside Japan, and therefore they have a little to minimum exposure to actually using English on a day-to-day basis. So how can they teach English when they cannot even speak and listen to and use English, practical speaking? So that's that. The second point is actual pressure. What it's like to really be a Japanese high school student. The education system, entrance examination for universities are a little different compared to Canadian or American ones. So if you're American or Canadian, you know about SAT or APT or something like that. APT, maybe not APT, aptitude test on SAT, Scholastic aptitude test. So if you're applying for American universities and you take SAT general or subject, and then you write essays and then you submit your GPA from high school and then apply for universities. You can take multiple SAT tests throughout, the course of like 6 months or 1 year, right? Whereas the Japanese entrance examination happens in just one day, usually from January until March. So if you mess up that exam on that day, you're screwed for that another year. Meaning that it's kind of like contrasting this North American university education style versus British one. British one, to get to the next year from freshman to sophomore, the freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, right? In university, they need to pass the exam at the end of the year to go to the next year, right? Whereas in North American style, you don't need to pass exam every single year. You just need to pass exam for each course, and you just accumulate credits. And once you accumulate 120 credits, then you can graduate from bachelor degree. Japanese one, you need to pass the exam on a date. Not necessarily pass, it's also relative competition. So you need to pass, you need to get higher score than other competitors, other students. And if you couldn't, you wouldn't be accepted into university. What's going to happen? You need to wait for another year. And so this is another thing. In North America, you have winter, fall semester for application. Whereas in Japan, everything is like once a year, and you can only apply for university from, I think, September, October. No, I think it's September, December, no, October, November, December. And then entrance exams happen at their campus. You need to write on that day. So immense pressure. Think about it. If you mess up one thing on the one date, even if you are studying for past 1 year, if you are sick or if your performance wasn't good in just one day out of 365 days, then you need to, if you want to go to that university specifically, then you need to wait for another 1 year. It's called Ronin-se. So that's the reason why Chinese, Korean, Japanese high school students have a lot of pressure to pass entrance exams. And in Korea specifically, has highest suicide rate in the entire world. But Chinese, Japanese as well, they're pretty pressured. And there are a lot of cram school, private cram tutoring schools the parents pay to send kids to for $100 a month up to maybe $500 a month from second year in grade 11. Even some people start from grade 6. So they start sending kids to cram school so that they can go to a better private junior high school, so that they can go to better private high school, so that they can go to better private university. So this competition, this rat race to get to the top university starts from as early as grade 6 or grade 5. So a lot of academic pressures. You could imagine, what if you fail and you're gonna be studying the same shit for next 1 year? Some people do that 2 years, 3 years to get into this medicine or doctor or lower department because it's more competitive in those majors. So that's what it's like to really go through Japanese education system, especially higher education. You cannot possibly just go to high school and then learn in the classes and then be prepared to write entrance exams for university. Almost all the top university students have been to the private tutoring kind of cram school, maybe twice or 3 times a week. So it's kind of like a daily schedule is like maybe 7:30 to 3 p.m. is like school classes. After they go to a cram school from like 5 p.m. until all the way until 9 p.m. Right? Do that for 3 times a week for different subjects, for English, math, chemistry, biology, history, Japanese, classic Japanese, so on and so forth. So if I were, that's another reason why I didn't really like going to or decided not to really write exam for Japanese university, because I was pretty good student. My GPA was pretty high, but I wasn't really good at writing exam. That just immense pressure. That just I was demotivated to study because with so much fear and pressure. But not only that, I was already like kind of thinking a lot about studying abroad or going to university in Western English-speaking countries, because it'll open up more opportunities for me. I knew about jobs and then language skills and cultural adaptation, internationalizing myself. So I didn't really have any interest in Japanese university per se. But if I were a parent and if I needed to send my kid to a Japanese education system, I would be super worried about their pressure. They need to go through all the pressures in the cram school and then just a little bit unbalanced student life. They just need to succeed on that date. They are not given multiple chance, for example, for like SATs. They can't prepare from 6 months ago. They need to be prepared on that date. And if you're if you're panicking on exam day, then you're screwed. You're messed up. Then your life is screwed, because basically Japanese Asian society, it's a lot based on seniority. So if you couldn't get into university 1 year, if you needed to wait for another 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and by the time you graduate from university, you're like 3 years older than everybody else. And in your resume, you need to write down your age and then your picture in resume. So a lot of stuff, different things there. So I wouldn't want to send my future kids to Japanese high school, because this rat race, I don't think anybody's winning. Because even if your kids or my kids successfully got accepted into let's say University of Tokyo, which is the top one, what are they going to do after university? What are they going to do? There are not many good companies there, first of all. And second of all, what kind of skills do they teach? Are they really, innovative, progressive? No. What they teach is pretty outdated. It's chemistry, math, history, communication, English literatures. Computer science is not strongest strength in Japanese universities, but hardware engineering, math, chemistry, biology, those pure sciences are, but not like software applied sciences. So it's just a downside. They won't be able to pick up English skills. They won't be able to pick up another internship opportunities with a big multi-international companies, because they can't speak English. Then you can't get a job outside of Japan. And even in Japan, the opportunities are pretty limited. Big companies are there, but they're not developer. They're not having the development department. So pretty much advertising, marketing, and whatnot. With that said, I'll kind of cut it short here. What did you think? Did you learn something new about insider's view about education system in Japan? Let me know in the comment section. And if you have any questions or recommendations, then I'll take a look in the comment section and I'll make a future videos. So with that said, thank you guys for watching. This was insider's views of Japanese education system. Ciao, ciao, bye bye.